Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio. And today is Monday, December 29th, 2025. And I'm going to be playing a replay from September 2011. And it is on the importance of taking responsibility for one's feelings and actions.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio. My name is Michael Ryce, and we're here to support you in learning the ancient Aramaic technology of forgiveness. We are honoring every day of the week when we do our show. We are honoring Memorial Day and those who were forced to undergo the insanity of war down through all of history. And our way of honoring them is to invite each of us to look at, on a daily basis, at least one issue where there's some form of hostility or fear, especially that we're blaming somebody else for, and to take responsibility for and change that within ourselves. The tool for changing that is called forgiveness. And forgiveness not having anything to do with letting others off the hook because of what is happening inside of you, but rather forgiveness is the tool with which you change what's happening inside yourself. So if you're not familiar with that conversation, we invite you to please go to our website. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. If you tap into that link will give you the first 4 items under that link will give you a full complement of information about the forgiveness process. So we invite you to go to do that, and let's see if Jeannie's on the line yet. And we're looking to understand on deeper and deeper levels what this experience of having a human life is really about, what we're really truly capable of. And as we recognize who we are, how to function as the human beings that we are. And of course, if you want to check out what a human life is, all you have to do is hold a newborn child. You'll know exactly what a human life is. And we're here to support you in claiming your human life fully, totally, and completely. And in so doing, bringing to the planet that which is almost disappeared. It's almost been removed from planet Earth. And we're looking to restore that active presence of love in the process of healing ourselves, each other, and the planet. So welcome to the show. We're glad that you're here. Our conversation has been about the process of unwinding the game in ourselves of blockage of truth. Unwinding the game that somebody else could possibly be responsible to what it is that you're going through. And as you recognize that what's happening for you is happening inside of you, then you have the opportunity, if you don't like it, you have the opportunity to change it. And as you choose to change that, then everything in your world starts to shift and change around the energetic patterns that you hold and that you choose to change. And so we're here to support you in that process of change. And the key tool in the process of change is called forgiveness. And forgiveness has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook because you have something going on inside of you that's painful. Forgiveness has to do with changing what's happening inside of you. And when one moves into the state of blockage of truth, I don't want to look at the truth in me, I don't want to look at the truth in my world, then the tendency can be to think that the problem's outside of me. In fact, the most common addiction on planet Earth is that of pretending that somebody outside of you could possibly cause what's happening inside of you. And as you recognize the tendency to do that and choose to undo it, you move out of blockage of truth into love of truth. If you are in blockage of truth, one of the most common phrases that you'll find yourself using will be the words, "Why are they doing that to me? Why is somebody causing something to happen in my life and in my world?" And my offering to you is that no one can cause anything to happen in you that isn't already in you. And as you recognize that and take responsibility, you have the opportunity to start to change whatever's happening inside of you. tool is called forgiveness. There is an awesome MP3 available on the website of the worksheet process. A woman that called in about 3 weeks ago, a very courageous young woman, who was willing to move into dealing with some of the things in her life. And we got to walk her through a whole forgiveness process, the whole worksheet process. And it's a most awesome tool, a most awesome experience. So yesterday we kind of closed our conversation we were talking a little bit about some of the work of a fellow named Thomas Kuhn, who is an author of a book entitled The Nature of Scientific Revolution. And we were looking at this idea of blockage of truth and how in the field of science, according to Kuhn, who's impeccably credentialed, is saying that science is actually set up to deflect truth. And of course, that being so, it's susceptible to error just as any other field. And we tend to look at science like some sort of a god. It's actually become the religion of the day. And it really isn't what's going to take us into the true function of our human lives. What will is the love of truth and the willingness to work through those things that we've never wanted to look at, never wanted to deal with in our world. And so it's time for us to wake up to that. And unfortunately, wherever there's any sort of human effort that has benefits from a particular belief system, the folks who are invested in that belief system because there's some kind of a profit, there's some kind of, whether it's power, whether it's money, whatever it is, the tendency will be for there to be that blockage of truth, for whatever is producing the result to be believed and held. And it happens in family systems, it happens in businesses, it happens in governments, it happens in religions. And when it's confronted, the tendency will be for some sort of violence to raise its ugly head. And the more out of alignment with truth a particular belief system that's in power is, the more violent will be the resistance to anything new. And dogma is dogma. It's an unquestioned belief, whether it's found in any field, whatever field it's found in, it inhibits the awakening of humanity. You know, the word heretic is used in a derogatory way in our culture, but those who cherish control over what they falsely call truth don't usually realize when they use the word dogma derogatorily that the word dogma actually means one with choice. Beliefs are not alive. And when they're held in fear and hostility, they seem to take on a life of their own. And actual human life has one primary characteristic, and that's the presence of being. The presence of a human life does not engage in violence. Where there is violence, you know there is not a human life. Whether that violence is toward yourself, whether it's toward another, it really doesn't matter where it is. When one locks into that blockage of truth, there will be some sort of violent action, verbally, emotionally, or picking up weapons. That's why we're inviting everyone to please dig into the worksheet process, to the forgiveness process. And wherever in some area, some arena of your life, you have some form of hostility or fear, start to let go of it, start to change it, because you are in blockage of truth. And the people that you're blaming for the fact that you're in blockage of truth are going to suffer at your hands, or vice versa, you at theirs. And of course, if we're in a space of suffering, it's our opportunity to start to change that dynamic in ourselves. But as we start to come together in larger communities based in truth, based in the actual presence of the human life, those dynamics tend to start to change. And that one primary characteristic of a human life is, where you find it, you do not find any form of violence. Minds in blockage of truth are the minds who do violence. And the cost of living in that violence is one's own human life. And one becomes kind of an automaton, just kind of moving forward in a way that really deflects any actual experience of the human life we were designed to live. And I'm wondering, did I just hear a little sound in the background for, is Carol on the line?
You did. I'm here.
Oh, hey there,
How are
young
you,
lady.
Michael?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I wanted to tell you that your show yesterday was just really magnificent. I really, really enjoyed listening, and I thought about some of the things you said, and it was really awesome.
Cool. Glad to be of support. Thank you for taking care of the switchboard, and I see you're with us again today.
I am. I just got here. Jeannie just called me. You do have a couple callers, and also I think Tim should be here, and I believe it's David is 417. Is that correct?
417? Yeah, that would be David.
David and Tim, I think I have opened here, so they should be here, and you have a couple of questions too, and the chat room is open.
Awesome. Fabulous. Well, let me say hello to David and Tim. I guess my interruptions there probably sounded a little strange, but I had no way of knowing. I couldn't get in the chat room, and I had no way of knowing if we were actually on air or not. So, good morning, David. Good morning, Tim. How are you, gentlemen?
Are they there?
Well, we're not hearing it.
Can
you
hear me now?
Oh.
Yeah, we
can
can
hear
see
you
you now.
now.
There you go.
Okay, good.
And Dr. Tim, are you with us, sir?
I'm here. I'm doing well. I tried to send you a text to let you know that you were being heard out here in the airwaves or on the phone line.
Sound pretty strange, right? Good, thank you. It just sounded a little on the strange side, but oh well. Here we are.
We're here.
So it was a delight to have Christy in the workshop last night. I'm sure that she shared with you that she got to play a role, and
she asked me.
It was a nice happening.
She asked me how much I paid you to do that with her.
Well, no, that's not a kind question.
Well,
how much were you paying, by the way? I forgot.
We'll do it on a contingency basis. You'll get a percentage of the increase in the love in our relationship.
I'll accept all the love you want to send, my friend. I'll accept all you want to send. There's nothing like the presence of human life in the world, and certainly I am honored to do whatever I can to support bringing it forward. But she definitely held a nice presence in the workshop last night, and her participation was appreciated. And I hope it supported her in opening on another level.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight. I just want to mention Nene is in the chat room again, and her hand is up for a phone call. She was on yesterday for quite a while and didn't get on. So,
well, let's talk to Nene then. If you could tune in to 954.
Yes, I see her here. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's 954.
Hello, my Heart family.
Well, hello, Heart family. How are you?
Doing great. Have good news and then something to share. So the good news is I was able to contact with Pamela and connect with her, Pamela, in Fort Lauderdale.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to have it MindShifters on Sunday the 25th, September 25th.
Awesome. And where are you going to do that?
We're going to do it in Hollywood, and we will confirm and sell all the details, and then, of course, through the radio and through the emails for whoever wants to join us. So that was great, finally.
Will you be starting with that and then doing it on an ongoing basis on Sundays then?
Well, at least we want to start this time and do, every Sunday or every other Sunday. And then finally, I was able to contact En Familia. I don't have a final date yet, but finally they responded. So that's great news.
So things are moving forward with En Familia as well?
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, a couple of thoughts. If you would email Jeannie with the details for the support group, we'll get that on the website and Jeannie can make up a flyer that she can send you, so you'll
Yes.
have that in the final form to pass around. And also, the minister at Unity in Pompano wanted to support or sponsor a support group. And there were quite a few people who were interested in that.
Okay, I thought about that. I'm happy that you mentioned, but I saw that. It's Unity. I remember where we had our week there with you.
Right.
Okay,
If you want,
yes.
how about calling me when we get off the radio show, and I'll give you the contact information for the minister there.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Okay, and then I also wanted to share that doing my work, and I'm having a great support from David, that, he guides me with the questions and I find out the answers, how the non-being mind is so used to be there and takes over so fast that it's true, and sometimes people tell you something, there is this need to respond and say something, react and say something. So yesterday I had a beautiful night, a beautiful experience at one of the dance and TV videotapings, and I was very centered in my energy, in my awesome energy of love, very nice. So I went with a friend, and then this morning my friend sends me an email telling me how wonderful I was, how everything was, it was very delightful to see me dance and this and that. But also he expressed his issues. And then I learned from David that when those things happen, just stay still and say thank you and see the feedback and notice what you feel if anything happens inside of you after reading the email. Because, there is a big tendency for the non-being mind to take over, and then you start the ego-to-ego conversation again.
Right.
So I spoke to David, and okay, fine, I hang up, and then I got another email from the same person.
Right.
And this time I read it, and I said thank you very much for this feedback, and that's it. About 10 minutes later, I started feeling a peace inside of me. I started feeling calm. So I said, well, whatever it is, this is working.
Fabulous. So did this email give you an opportunity to do some worksheets? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, I did. The first one, I reacted, and then after talking to David, I realized that keeping your being mind means to say thank you and then go and do your own work. So that's what I did, and so I reread everything, and I said, okay, this is how I feel. This has been triggered inside of me, and that led me to work, but it led me the second time that I did it with more awareness. That took me into like a higher energy and higher understanding or being with myself.
Congratulations. I sure admire the way you are pitching in and doing your work, young lady. That's just awesomely powerful. What a gift.
Thank you.
Gift to yourself, a gift to the bloodline, a gift to the earth. There's a great line in the Course that says millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you do. And each time one of us strives to do some healing, to move inside of ourselves. And, of course, the reason why I'm asking people to participate in honoring Memorial Day by doing some inner work, by removing hostility and fear, is because as that change starts to happen, it literally shifts the energy that impacts the whole planet. And so that's fabulous. Congratulations. The world rejoices.
Thank you.
As one more sacred heart shows up. One more heart embodying the love of God. the human life you were designed to live. That's fabulous. Well, keep us posted on the support groups, and as soon as the show's over, give me a shout, and I'll give you the information for Pompano.
Great, I will.
All right, Teacher Nene. That's fabulous.
Michael, you have another caller as well.
Awesome. Let's go for it. What area code?
This is area code 541. You're on the air, and it's 552.
Sounds like Miss Julie.
5520131, Julia Burns.
Oh, Julia, how are you, young lady?
Yeah, well, I'm all right. It's been interesting listening to you from a distance. I'm sitting with a whole pack of worksheets here in front of me I've been working on, and I thought it'd be kind of nice to join in the crowd with the voices as well.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're here. And, Julie is talking about coming to the Intuitive Development Intensive next week. Maybe you want to hook up and come with her.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I tried to reach Julie, I think this morning or yesterday or something, and I didn't succeed. But she was out of town down with her house before, and I don't know when she got back.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Now, tell me again what she's thinking of going to?
We have an Intuitive Development Intensive, a 9-day intensive at Heartland that starts on the 16th of September. And she was thinking about either driving or flying out to that workshop. So
right, I remember I talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah.
How far is it to Heartland? I mean, how many hours drive?
Oh, as far as the drive go, I would expect it's probably 30 hours of driving. I'm not sure exactly.
Both ways?
No, a one-way
you mean
drive.
One way?
I would expect. Yeah, I would think that would be it.
Yeah, it's a long way.
It's a pretty fair trip. Yes. What's your zip code there?
97520. Same as Julie's.
975. I'm just popping this in a map program for a second just to take a look and see just what that looks like. But I'm thinking it's probably 30 hours of drive time, something along those lines. It's a pretty fair trek. We're in the middle of the country, and of course you're up there in the northwest coast, so it would be a pretty fair trek.
Yeah, I think I'd rather fly. But even then, you'd still have to drive a long way after flying, I imagine. Where would you fly to?
We're about 2 hours from the airport. We're about 2 hours from the airport. Springfield, Missouri.
And what is the airport?
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri.
The workshop will start on the 16th of September and go through the 24th. And people who are going to fly in will fly into Springfield around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 16th. And then departure is after 3 o'clock on the 24th. So, that's what we'll be doing. So, do you have a question for us today, Julia?
Well, yeah, I seem to get into trouble with lots of things. Like, for instance, some homeless people trying to, camp in here and take advantage of things, and just because I had helped to serve, them before. But just generally speaking, I think I don't serve myself very well. I don't give myself all the breaks of enjoying. I guess I spend more time working and cleaning and doing all that sort of stuff. I got an acre of land here in a big house, and then I go to the Chamber of Commerce and meetings and things, but I don't think I give myself enough fun time.
So maybe it's time to do some worksheets. Maybe do some worksheets on Julia with yourself as the object of attention, and look at why you're not taking total care of yourself.
Yes, for sure.
Change your life.
All the worksheets I've done here actually are on myself. Well, I guess, I don't know, but primarily. But yeah, I'm taking better care of myself, and not. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. We're meeting this afternoon. Julie, I hope will be there we're meeting over at Neil's and Renee and, a small group of us usually get together on Thursdays
Right.
and do
The Course
that.
in
We're going
Miracles?
to talk about it then. I beg your pardon?
Fabulous. You meeting for the Course in Miracles?
No, we're meeting for, it is the Course in Miracles, really, but we've been focusing a lot on this, your work or the work we do, that because that's what's really what we're really doing. It's not, I don't know. It's under the guise of the Course in Miracles, but I mean, we've been talking about this a lot because Renee's really into it, and Julie hasn't been able to come the last couple of times, but anyway, that's it. So,
all right. Well, we bless you, and tell everybody in the Course in Miracles group I said hello and I send my love, and we'll look forward to the next time we get face-to-face, Julie. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
Okay, great. Bye.
Okay. Anything happening in the chat room for us to be aware of?
No, not yet, but I'd like to just tell everybody if they would like to call in, they could call in at 646-200-4169 or put any questions in the chat room, and I will get those to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you.
And you. Thank you.
All right. So, Dr. Tim, anything exciting on your mind today?
Well, there's always just a raft of things going on, a boatload. It's hard to decide which. I think there's been a lot of mileage in my discussions with people recently about the distortions that our mind creates for us and convinces us that those distortions are accurate and real. And I think
that's definitely core stuff.
Yeah, and I think you can't go over it too many times to discuss how the goals we hold for people literally drive that process, and how even, but especially the unconscious goals that we hold for people drive that process in a way that we're not able to see, so that our perceptions are being manipulated and we don't even have a conscious awareness of it.
Yeah, there's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says you must become aware of the distorting power of the way you want it to be. And that's definitely a key in the whole process.
And when you understand that the mind is infinitely more powerful than the conscious mind, and that means my unconscious is driving things often, and I'll have no awareness of it whatsoever, and those things that are driving my behavior from the unconscious are always goals, often goals of things that were established in patterns from when I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. It's astounding. And the more I set my sights on myself whenever I'm upset and can ask questions like, okay, how does this look like my life, or where else in my life have I felt this, the more I'm getting insights into things from younger ages. And had a very powerful release yesterday morning about something that's going on in my life today, and it relates directly back to when I was 2 years old. And I had a grandmother who was this absolutely magnificent person. She was, very large, very domineering German, always well-dressed and prim and proper, and she knew the right way. And as a 2-year-old, I had my own ideas about what might be the right way. And when those clashes happened, I had to make a decision about survival and about gaining her approval, and in that process had to give up quite a bit about what I knew to be true and what my intuition could do for me and was telling me. And so
Right.
I had a very powerful release yesterday around that process, and then just watching for the rest of the day yesterday and on into today, how that desire to be accepted of others and to be approved of by others is always running in the background of my mind. It's always out there scanning for a way to achieve that ancient goal. So,
Sure.
so that's been going on with me for the past couple of days, and it's been setting up a dynamic where, a number of people at different times in my life have told me, well, you're so defensive. Why are you so defensive? And from my perception, I have absolutely no experience of being defensive. Well, this helps explain it. If it's being driven by a goal from when I was 2 years old and I was defensive because I was literally being attacked and my judgments were being attacked, well, that's pretty deep stuff, and it's running in my unconscious, and so it clearly, frequently generates me to produce these defensive statements or postures, and I'm completely unaware of them. And
Right.
people around me are very aware of them, and when they say, oh, you're being defensive, and I get confused because I have no experience of being defensive, it creates conflict in the relationship. So my work is about dismantling that defensive posture and canceling those goals and doing a lot more worksheets on being defensive.
Yeah. And does it create defensiveness in your relationships, or do you create defensiveness in your relationships with that?
Well, I create the disruption in the relationships because I'm not aware of the defensiveness, and the people I'm dealing with can clearly see it. But if I can't see the actuality as clearly as they do, then that process creates disruption in the relationship. The disconnect between what I believe I'm perceiving and what they're perceiving is not going to allow us to communicate accurately.
Right. So that might be a place where a mind shifter might be really handy. And mind shifter is something along the lines of, it's safe and healing for me to be fully aware when I am defensive. Might allow you to start to tap into the cues that will tell you. And you might even, ask the people around you who are telling you about defensiveness, well, what's the cue? What tells you that I'm defensive? And as they help you to build the brain cells for it, you'll probably shift out of seeing it the way you see the behavior into being able to understand, oh, this is what defensiveness looks like to other people. There's if you remember the story in the book of the character Richard, and he's sitting having a cup of coffee, and he's about to spill. He spilled some of the coffee on his saucer, and the waitress comes over to take his his cup and saucer away so that he doesn't spill on his clean clothes, and he goes into attack. And what he ultimately gets in touch with is actually very similar to what you're talking about. But he has a reality that his attack is just a way of protecting himself. He doesn't see it as attack. He doesn't call it that. So there's probably, if you get some of those folks around you to share what that's about, what that looks like for them, then you'll have the brain cells, and rather than calling it whatever it is you call it, the reality you hold about it from that experience of being 2 or 3 and growing up in that kind of an environment, then you'll have the brain cells for that defensiveness and just be able to short circuit it. See it for what it is, if that is accurately what it is.
All right. Well, I have the mind shifter written down as, it's safe and healing for me to be fully aware when I'm being defensive.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Very good.
Fabulous. Nice piece of the puzzle.
Well, it's going to help a lot of things if I can clear it out, I'll tell you that.
Welcome to the
Michael.
human race. Yes.
Michael, we have another call. This is a different 541, and it's 261.
Well, that's probably Julie. Come on. 541, welcome.
Hi there. Hi, Michael.
Hello,
Sorry.
young lady.
I'm tuning in a little bit late, and I don't know if you've already mentioned it, but I'm trying to work out some things and timing. And I may not make the intensive for the intuitive development, so the next one would be the food one that you're planning. Is that correct? Is that your next one?
If that falls in place, we don't have a final confirmation on whether or not that's going to happen as yet. We're still working on that.
Do you know
the
date? Oh, okay. You can keep
no, actually, I'm waiting to hear back from Chef Ari to see what works in his calendar, and then to see if it's going to be able to come together at all. We actually just had a little conversation with Julia, and she was talking about perhaps flying into to the intuitive development. I had mentioned that you were thinking about coming, and maybe she'd want to come with you. So she said she was going to see you at the Course in Miracles today.
Yeah. So, all right. I'll talk to her. I'm just crunched for a lot of time. Moving. I'm moving, but I would love to be at the intuitive development. So we'll see. I'll be in touch, and thank you for your airtime. Thank you.
Pretty fabulous.
Bye-bye.
And how are things shaking out after your little foray into the legal world the other day, and realizing it was much ado about healing? Any other follow-up?
Yeah, I'm learning to just be appreciative of the miracles that cross my path, and I don't understand them, and that's a good thing because the ego will be in the way if it thinks it understands. I'm very appreciative.
Cool. Fabulous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your call.
And I'm also very full of energy and a lot more clarity, so that's all good too. Yeah, thank you, Michael.
Every layer we go through, and there's a new level of empowerment, that's for sure.
Michael, there's a question in the chat room. I'd like an explanation about when we get attached to something or to a person and how that's a non-being in action. If Michael could refresh that idea, please.
Sure. That sounds like a good one. And I guess the question you'd have to ask yourself is it an attachment or a connection? Being connected to people is natural. Interdependent relationships are totally and completely natural. Attachment would be, the indicator of attachment would be if this person that I'm connected with says, well, I'm heading in the other direction for today, we'll see you later. Do I go into some form of hostility or fear? Am I wishing to control what they do? And if I'm wishing to control now, of course, in relationships, it's reasonable to coordinate, make agreements, and keep agreements. But there's a difference between that and control. So if I'm attached, I'm going to find myself, when I can't control, being in some form of hostility or fear. And that's going to be the place where I get to start to let loose of that hostility and fear. I stand in liberty, and I offer support in liberty for others. I keep my agreements. I invite others to keep their agreements. Once people make commitments and ways that they're going to live in relationship together, be it business relationships, friends, intimate partners, parents, children, that it's reasonable for us to be able to rely upon the word and the agreement of those around us. And if someone breaks their word or that agreement, once again, if I go into some form of hostility or fear, then I'm attached rather than connected. And I want to get to the point where I can let go of all of the attachments that keep me in the patterned hostilities and fears of my generations. When Julie called in the other day, and I presume seeing as how she called and made it public on the air, she was in quite a bit of upset over a court situation that was coming about. And we did a release of the attachments to that person. And the next morning when I spoke with her as opposed to the upset toward this person and the emotional attachment to the outcome. It was one more of, well, here I am living a human life, and here I am getting ready for another learning opportunity, and I can hold a space for this person who appears to be attacking me. And that would be the impact of being able to let loose of the attachments that we have, the things that keep us in emotionally insecure patterns, hostilities, and fears. So that would be my take on that, and I'm not sure if that's the exact direction that you were thinking of going with that question, but you would certainly be welcome to call in to the phone, and we could chat a little more about it, 646-200-4169. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Or, Carol, are there any other comments in the chat room that from the person who asked that question?
Well, the person in the question said, yeah, thank you. Yes, that is it. They needed to be a little bit clear on that. And so it was perfect.
Fabulous. And so the forgiveness process, I'm ready to remove all hostility or fear. I'm ready to live a life where hostility or fear simply does not exist in me. Now, that's a tall order for a human being on planet Earth today, because we live in such hostile, fearful times, and by and large, family systems are just loaded with hostilities and fears. And all those hostilities and fears are reflections of selfishness and self-centeredness. You know, I demand that the world live around my requirements, you know, whether it's somebody in traffic or, you know, somebody in relationship. When we make those kinds of infantile demands, and then when someone doesn't meet our infantile demand, doesn't fulfill our goal for them, if what comes up is that insane rage or even that hostile word or that sarcastic comment, we're hiding from ourselves another part of our minds in need of healing. And, you know, a couple of years ago, it's actually about 10 years ago now, I guess, I worked with the dean of a medical school in Florida. And after some amount of work, and we talked about the brutality of medical education, I put forward the thought to this gentleman, what would it be like if medical school were a warm, loving, caring environment where the students were brought in to be healed, to heal their wounds, their hostilities, their fears, their grievances, their pain, their trauma, and taught to go out as healers. And I can remember his eyes getting big and his jaw dropping, and it was like, what a radical idea. What would it be like if our family systems were warm, gentle, loving environments where when the child that comes into the world doesn't exactly fulfill the demands of the parent were incapable of hostility, but rather lived as the total presence of love? If that parent were incapable of a hostile comment toward the child, of a put down, of a slur, or of an accusation, what kind of family systems would we have? And as you recognize that is not just the possibility of our human lives, but if we actually were to arrive at living as true human beings, the active presence of love, that would be the only way our families would function. Now, of course, I'll be the first one to admit, you know, my children now, my son just celebrated his 32nd birthday, and I certainly find myself on many occasions wishing I had been a more knowledgeable parent, that I had understood just a tenth of what I understand today when my children were small. Because I'll certainly own that I did my share of hostilities and fears that I regret so deeply today, because I didn't know any better. I now travel the planet in every circumstance and situation that I can, offering these tools to people so that we can know, we can understand how our world could be working. 32 years ago, when my son was born, I didn't know. And, of course, we can't function through brain cells we don't have. We can only function through the ones we do have. And the ones we do have came to us from our genetics, and then they came about in our family systems, usually with a whole lot of insanity attached. And I define in this work, I define insanity as a mind without the active presence of love. So how about if everybody that's listening right now joins me in finding ways to let parents know that when the stress is up and the chips are down, they could forgive every bit of hostility or fear that they hold in themselves, and they could continuously turn to and embrace their children in the active presence of love, out of the active presence of love, functioning as the active presence of love, and support that in their children. How about if we put some effort into giving teachers this knowledge so that teachers in the classroom function as the active presence of love and truly educate the children? A child is that presence of love, and the word educate comes from the root educare. It means to draw out. It does not mean to put in. Education has nothing whatsoever to do with filling a little mind with all the facts and figures that will make that little person turn into a good commercial servant. Real education has to do with honoring and drawing into expression the awesome human presence that that person is. Would each of you join me? Aside from the assignment we're asking you to do every day to face one hostility or fear, would you join me in reaching out in some way, shape, or form to bring to the parents of the world, the young parents who today, because of the financial situations in the world and the runaway inflation, or pardon me, I should say deflation of the value of the paper that the culture is printing, that pretends and purports to be money, because of the runaway printing presses that devalue everyone's dollar, and as a result, so many parents are struggling. And what we know is that when the stress is up and the chips are down, people revert back to the lowest common denominator, and that is the behavior of their power person, the behavior that was hated most that the power person did. Let's rebuild a culture that functions sanely, that functions out of the active presence of love. And we're people who are attached to beliefs that foster and foster upon others, force upon others, excuse me, that hostility and fear, and integrate that hostility and fear on a deeper level into our own selves. What if we actually started to create a culture where forgiveness was the byline? Oh, I'm in hostility or fear. I think I'll let go of this. Gee, what do I need to cancel to move this out of my structure? How different could the world be in just a generation if everyone made that choice? If everyone were a heretic, remember that heretic means one with choice. If everyone were a heretic and just said, okay, I'm going to forget about this hostility and fear-based culture. I'm going to go totally in the other direction and create a love-based culture in my marriage, in my relationship with my children, my parents, my siblings. Bring healing to those things. What kind of a shift could happen on planet Earth?
Can I add animals too?
Oh, that's such a major one. What we're doing in the culture that is addicted to eating tortured flesh is so insane. And when you look at what is served as so-called food in this culture, the horrendous suffering that is inflicted. There's an interesting video called Paradise Farm. Google Paradise Farm and watch it. If you're eating tortured flesh and you didn't know you were eating tortured flesh, take a look at that video. And, you don't have to be a chemist to know that an animal that's beaten and battered as it's being slaughtered is going to be filled with chemistry that is just horrendous to take into your body. So yes, I definitely agree with you on that one.
Well, you know, you were saying parenting, and some of us, you know, I'm with you. If I would have known all of this 30 years ago when my daughter and my son were babies, you know, I would be so blessed, but I didn't, and so I'm sharing it. But some of us now have opportunities where we have animals, because I have a cat and a dog, and there's lots of people that have animals as pets, as their babies, that they're still not treating them the way they should be treated. You know, because there's so much abuse for animals in the homes, too, that maybe we need to look at that as well.
For sure. I would definitely agree with you there. Definitely.
Yeah. There's someone in the chat room put, even though that the presence of love is a must, we have to realize that sometimes it takes a problem to occur through imperfections to direct ourselves to love. We must be aware.
You know, you kind of cut in and out a little bit there. Tell me again what you were saying.
What they're saying is that basically that, you know, even though love is a must, sometimes issues come up that is imperfections. That imperfection of not being loved, that those things come up to us, that showing us that there's not love there, and that helps to direct us, that we need sometimes those things to bring us to that space. Did you hear me?
I heard you, but I didn't quite track it. So is the thesis that's being presented that we need the hostility and fear to take us there? Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, I think that's what they're getting at, yes. Those imperfections will direct us to love.
Well, I haven't seen too many people, unless they choose to step out of their blockage of truth, unless they choose to do things differently. I haven't seen too many people out of their imperfections that get drawn to love. If you look at the average person, you know, Mary's talking to Joe, and Joe says something in the form of an hostile comment, and Mary's comment is more hostile, and then Joe's comment becomes rage, and Mary's comment becomes physical violence. I haven't found imperfection leads people to a lot of love. But what does lead people to a lot of love is recognizing that when we're in our imperfections, we could choose differently.
Right, that's what they're saying, to be aware of that,
That we can choose differently. Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. I'm in full agreement on that one. It's time for us to get that on the planet Earth and start to bring it forward in a way different from the insanity that we've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Okay, well, they said correct, yes. They're in agreement.
Cool. Fabulous. Well, any other comments, questions, thoughts, answers, ideas on the in the chat room?
No, we have about 2 minutes left. No, not at the moment. That's it.
Okay. Well, last night in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, or pardon me, in the Healing Through Relationships workshop, there's a tool that we present in that workshop that looks at how to function differently than the world has taught us to function. But every once in a while I like to share that tool. So what I'd like to do is close the show out by making a commitment to you. And my commitment is, I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth and be true to you. I commit to always be sweetness in your life, to nurture you daily, and to treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect. In my thoughts, words, and actions, whether in your presence or not. In every interaction, I commit to affection for you, to look for and acknowledge the highest and best in you, and to surrender to love on through nature. My connection to my source, my relationship with you, and our serenity will always be more important than any issue. I open my heart to embrace you in my love, and I open my heart to be embraced in your love. If anything unlike love comes up, I will hold this in my heart and listen as I learn to speak, experience, and be responsible for my own realities. I'm here for and with you. I promise to keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present. as we celebrate life and grow together. And so that's my commitment to you, and I invite you, and Carol, we'll just skip the outro for today. We'll just let the show close out with those thoughts, and we'll invite you to take the vibration of that commitment and move it into your world and join it. Join us in creating the absolute best year yet of your eternal life.